Hi, this is Debbie Lacken from Kids Around Dogs. Today we'll be talking about why working with kids and dogs, my opinion and the ones of some of our CAD-approved professionals. So I'd like to talk a little bit about me in case you don't know who I am. I am the founder of Kids Around Dogs, and Kids Around Dogs is an association of professionals in the dog world, such as dog trainers, dog behaviorists, vet nurses, and so on. For professionals that work in the childcare business, such as teachers, teaching assistants, and so on. I live in Poole, in Dorset, that is in the south of England, and I run my business here as Poco Dogs. I am a qualified IMDT dog trainer. I'm a qualified ISCP dog behaviorist. I'm also an approved instructor for the DTC. I am part of a few associations such as the IAABC, ICANN, PPG, and the Dog Welfare Alliance. I am also a dog bite educator. CAD, Kids Around Dogs, CAD is associated with PACT and the Pet Professional Network. So I feel that there is strength in numbers and it does take a village. So I like to know that we're all working together for the same goal. So to speak, we're all, all of the organization and part of are force free. And so we all believe in not hurting dogs when working with them or working with the humans, and certainly not hurting any children as well. So why working with kids and dogs? I think I should say as well, my personal experience as such, I'm a mother. I'm a mother of not only dogs and a cat, but also a human. Her name is Molly, and she's 10 years old now. She will be in a couple of videos later. And I think becoming a parent of a human has maybe made me see different aspects of life in general. And I've noticed when she started having friends of her own, and her friends were coming here for play dates and things like this, I've started noticing how there were children who were overconfident around dogs or absolutely terrified of dogs. So I kind of set on wanting to work specifically with kids and dogs because I want to make sure that the interactions and the life and the bonding those two species can have together is a healthy one. So what we do with CAD, and what I would encourage anyway people to do, is to help children to understand dogs by speaking their language, so canine body language. Similarly, we want dogs to be understood. They try so very hard to let us know when they're uncomfortable, or when they're happy, or when they're distressed, or whatever. They use their body to demonstrate those feelings, and yet a lot of us still don't understand them. But they do try very hard to speak our language, to learn our language. We teach them to sit, and we teach them to lie down, and we teach them to fetch and stuff like this, and so they speak our language, whatever that might be. They also learn to understand our body language. So if you move a certain way, they may know that you might go in that direction, or if you pick up the key, they'll know, right, okay, they're going out now. They can learn as well to understand our feelings. If you're crying and you're upset, they might be empathic enough to come and try to cheer you up. So they have, dogs really work very hard to be in our world, and it seems only fair that we learn their language also. That can also help keeping children safe around dogs, They're learning to understand how dogs feel can make a child think twice before maybe interacting with a dog or interacting in certain ways with dogs. Also by teaching children what kind of training they could do, or how they could be around dogs without smothering them all the time. And then again, the opposite is also true, that we can help dogs to be safe, to feel safe, that they don't feel overwhelmed by life with tiny humans. I love to see the bond between humans and dog grow. I think it's beautiful. I love to see it when it's between, you know, myself and my dogs. I like seeing it between my child and the dogs. And it just fills me with joy when I see it with my clients. And that is not necessarily just the little people, but also grown-ups. So it's just wonderful to see that kind of bonding. And the bonding can also be strengthened by, again, the understanding of each other's language and the good interactions between dogs and children. We discuss very often with kids how important dogs are in the human life, what they do for us. For instance, there are police dogs, there are search and rescue dogs, there are dogs that alert us for anxiety or seizures. So much dogs do, and sometimes they're just there to make us feel better, to help us read, to help us cheer us up when things are not quite as easy. So they are essential, I think, now in many aspects, and to many people. So such an important part of the human life. What else we do for children as well in Kids Around Dogs is helping kids not to be scared of dogs. I often, when I see a child that is scared of dogs, I often think, oh my gosh, you're really missing out. You're missing out on something wonderful. That is always my first thought. And then I often think about how hard it must be for the kids and for the family, being scared of what is probably the most common pet animal in the world. So I designed a successful protocol to overcome the fear of dogs in kids. So I'm happy to say that through the protocol that all of the CAD-approved instructor learned to use directly from me. More and more children are overcoming their fear of dogs. More families are finally freed from this nightmare, effectively, of not being able to go wherever they please because there might be dogs, and not even being able to have a normal play date because maybe the family has dogs. So many problems that can come from the fear of dogs. So obviously, when working with children, there can be some difficult things as well. For example, the emotional attachment that comes with working with kids. You might find that some children need you more than you expected. That they might have they might be different from the normal clients that you get. They might become more attached to you. They might become more affectionate to you in a way, and they're more open. They can be more open with their feelings. So they might tell you, "No, but I don't like you." And it's terrible. And they might tell you, "Oh, come back again because I had so much fun." It's brilliant, you know. Very often grown-ups are not that open with their feeling. And sometimes you think, did that client enjoy the lesson? I don't know. With kids, you kind of do, you know. Similarly, of course, there is the unexpected. because this is often said about dogs, ironically, how, oh, dogs are unpredictable. Actually, to me, it feels like kids are unpredictable, and I had one, and I'm still sometimes going, what's going to happen now? They can, suddenly the lesson is going very well, and so they go, that's it, bye, and that's it, the lesson is over, they've had enough. So that's what it is. So while can be a bit tricky, it can also be interesting, to see how you would handle such situation. The so-called helicopter parents, we want parents to be at lessons with your children. Whenever you're doing the protocol, for example, to overcome the fear of dogs, you want parents there. Parents are essential. You have to have them around. But sometimes they want to do what you would like the child to do instead. So maybe you ask a question and there is the parents that answer because they know the answer. So it would be good. It's good to have them there. It's good for them, of course, to learn what the child is learning, but also to give their child time to answer or to practice what they have been learning. Very often the needs as such are different from the wants. By that I mean that what the dog might require, what the family as well might require, might be different from what the child had in mind. For instance, a child might go, oh, I just want to play with the dog all day, but the dog needs sleeping. The puppy, especially puppies, needs a lot of rest, and children don't really appreciate that much. The brain development stages is fascinating to me. Maybe it's because I was a child and I didn't know my brain had to go through that much. And yet, for instance, humans go through what is defined an egocentric phase, if you like, when they're between 4 and 7. They think that everybody feels and see the world the way they do. So their experience, their personal experience, they believe that is what everybody experience. There was a Swiss, I'm Swiss, so a Swiss scientist, I believe, a psychologist called Jean Piaget, and he did a test on 3 mountains, and he asked the children to view, to put themselves in front of the image of a mountain or the actual like reproduction of a mountain, and asked the child, oh, what do you see? And they told them. And then they put a doll behind the mountain, and he asked the child, what did the doll see? And the child told that the doll would see the same thing that he did, because they just thought everybody would experience the same thing. There have been other kind of experiments as well in later years, but that was, I think that's like one of the most famous one. So it kind of goes to show that children have that kind of, if you like, almost like self-centered way of looking at the world. Right? If I think this way, you think this way too. That's what it is. But then we found out that later in life, as the brain develops, from about 7 years old, they no longer think that way. So they kind of win past that stage, and they recognize that other people have feelings of opinion of their own. But it's quite interesting because when we're working with dogs and children, a small child under the age of 7 could be expected to go, well, if I'm happy to hug a dog, surely the dog is happy to be hugged, because he's too young, the child is too young to comprehend that the dog has different feelings and has different views. And that's why as carer, as teachers, as trainers, we are there to guide them. They don't know, so we are gonna help them to understand this kind of emotion, this kind of empathy. Funny enough, when then a child grows up and turns into teenagers, very often we see that almost self-centered way of being in teenagers, but that is again the brain developing. So again, because the brain is doing such big job in growing and changing, is too busy, the brain is too busy thinking of itself, and it doesn't have time to think of others. So that is why very often we think, oh gosh, that kid is so self-centered, but actually it's not his fault. It's not the teenager's fault. It's just the brain developing there. So it's quite interesting, because that reflects as well on the relationship with dogs. If a dog can help a teenager to feel more empathy and to kind of stay maybe a little bit more grounded in that respect. But at the same time, we need to watch out, because at that age, they, like I said, their brain is so busy developing, so busy changing, it might not have time or space or power, if you like, to also think of how the dog might be feeling. So there might be less empathy for the dog and less understanding. So again, as grown-ups, as guardian, carers, teachers, trainers, whatever you are, you should be there to help the child, to help the teenager to grow out to that phase positively and with understanding and empathy. If we teach them empathy, they can learn it too. Here a few of the CAD-approved trainers, they have, or professionals, they have expressed their opinions on what it's like to work with kids and dogs. So I'm going to try and show you the video.
Well, the pros of working with dogs, I mean, they're endless, really. I mean, they're such funny little characters. It's so rewarding. They're so, I find everything about them fascinating. I love watching them learn. I love watching them train. I love watching their little waggle when they're happy to see you. And I just love seeing transformation in them as we're working with them. So, I mean, yeah, there is no end to the pros of working with dogs, really. The cons of working with dogs, for me, is I get quite attached to my clients and their dogs. And I think if you do your job well enough when you're training your dogs, after a little while, the client doesn't really need you anymore. And because they don't need you anymore, you don't always see the dog in the end after like, a few months or so. And it does get sad when a client's done. I always miss them and I always wonder how they're doing. And I'm very lucky because they do tend to keep in touch with me. But, it's not the same as seeing them, is it? So the pros of working with kids. Well, kids are the dog owners of the future. And I think by teaching them young how to look after their dogs, how to be respectful of their dogs, how to look out for dog behaviour, and I think you're working along the lines of bite prevention, so that there's going to be a much more happier relationship between the dogs and the kids. But also in the future, when they're adults, those dogs they're going to have so many less behavioural problems because their owners will be these kids that understand them. And the cons of working with kids, well, to be honest, I mean, I haven't really found one, if I'm honest. I mean, kids ain't that bad. I used to be one once upon a time. So yeah, I can't really think of any cons.
As a Kids Around Dogs trainer, there are loads of pros to working with kids and dogs. One of the pros to working with dogs is getting to meet lots of different personalities of dog and learn more and more about behaviour with each visit that you do. One of the cons to working with dogs, however, is having to go out in all weathers. British weather isn't the most fun and I prefer to stay inside. One of the pros to working with children is the creativity that you can use when you're creating resources or training programs for them to get involved with their dogs. And one of the cons to working with kids are they pick things up quicker than the parents and you have to ask them to let their parents have another go.
You can easily find plenty of pros to talk about. So one of the pros that springs to mind, the most obvious one, is we're teaching children how to interact properly with their dogs and understand their dogs better, which will, in the long run, make everybody safer and probably make the dog's life more enjoyable if it's not being tugged around by its ears and having children hanging off its neck. Another pro is by having children be involved in the training is we're building on that relationship account. If you don't know what I mean, look up Dr. Susan Friedman. But we're making deposits into that, and we're building that trust and that relationship between the children and the dogs. So ultimately, again, it's making things safer for the children, but also it's helping teach the dog what we would like them to do. As for cons, I really struggled with the cons. I thought about this quite a lot, and there are some, but they're not really, a big enough note for me to want to really talk about. So I'm really going to dodge this question or this part of it, because as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty much pros all the way. So sorry, Debbie, I can't give you too many cons.
I've always loved dogs, but I've only worked with dogs over the past few years. I was inspired to start my dog learning journey through my friend, who was a dog trainer, and also through my husband, who told me that I was always at my happiest when I was surrounded by dogs. A difficult thing about working with dogs, I think that we all go into the job because we care and we want to help. And I find that sometimes if you are in a difficult situation, if a human is really struggling or a dog is really struggling, there's a pressure there to really help. And it's difficult not to take that away with you at the end of the day, and can be quite emotionally draining. But there's not many negatives. I would say that's one of the only ones. Working with children, I really like working with children because I feel like they bring such a joy to their interactions with dogs. And the bond between a dog and a child, if you get it right, can just be the most special and lovely thing to see. I would say that one of the difficult things of working with children is when you need to, as a dog trainer, maneuver yourself around a situation where possibly the relationship between dog and child in that household isn't the best. Perhaps the dog doesn't want to be touched as much as the child wants to cuddle, and balancing out the family's expectations of what they want their dog to be with also creating an environment where that dog is happy and comfortable and having all of its needs met can be a little bit challenging, but it can definitely be doable. So yeah, that's the challenge.
So for me, I've always been a dog person. I've grown up with dogs, and then I just wanted a change of career. And the fact that I can put my love of dogs in along with business is just fantastic. It doesn't feel like going to work. I would say the downside of that is I want to bring every dog home with me. Who doesn't? So luckily I've got someone that sort of squashes me and says, actually, no, we've got enough dogs now. In terms of working with children, I qualified to be a nursery nurse for back many moons. I worked in a school. So for me, the fact that I can incorporate my two passions, dogs and working with children, to help them sort of come together for children to enjoy being around dogs is fantastic. I've got the personal experience that my niece really is absolutely scared of dogs. I mean, she's grown up now and she's learned to deal with it. So when I saw this opportunity to work with children and dogs together and to help children feel more confident around them, I wanted to jump at the chance, and I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Dogs are, as everybody knows, just fantastic animals to work with. They are very forgiving for us humans. We expect them to fit into everything we want them to do, and the best they can, they do. They just give us unconditional love, and don't really ask for that much back from it. Obviously, that can be a little bit frustrating for us as well sometimes when things aren't going as we plan, and we find it a bit challenging to figure out what it is that they're wanting. So that's obviously a little bit of a downside, but we do our best to try and work those things out. And children, yes, lots of similarities to be fair, but I love their enthusiasm. I love their love for their dogs and for dogs in general with most of them. find that children in the most part are very good at actually taking instructions, and therefore training is great because you can explain to them what to do, and they do it word for word, and therefore the training works really well. I think we can thank their teachers for that actually, because they learn to follow rules really well. Obviously, the downside as well with children is that some of them can be a little bit shy around us, and we can, you know, they might not be very forthcoming when you're around to do the things that you're asking them to do, depending on their personalities. So that can be a little bit difficult, and also to know sometimes if they're enjoying the sessions that you do with them, because they can be a little bit withdrawn sometimes. But mostly they overcome that, and it's lovely to see their partnerships and grow with their dogs.
The first thing is working with dogs. I get to see lots of gorgeous, lovely dogs. The con of working with dogs is I also get to see lots of dogs that need lots of help and are struggling with life. With kids, a biggest pro of working with kids is that they're great, wonderful little sponges for knowledge. You can tell them lots and lots of stuff and they love it. One of the cons is that we need to be more exciting than the internet and all the games and everything else that's out there as well. So trying to engage them sometimes can be a bit of a struggle.
One of the biggest positives I find around working with dogs is the ability to be able to help their guardians understand them better, giving the dog a voice so that they feel like they are understood in this crazy human world. The hardest thing is when we have challenges where it's really difficult for the dog and we're seeing there's a lot of suffering going on, when we can't quite get to the root cause of the challenge, and perhaps it's really a difficult time emotionally for the humans involved. Working with kids is absolutely great because their ability to be able to just take information and run with it is incredible. They don't think about all the extra stuff that's going on in the world. They just hear the information that you're telling them and they go and put it into practice. I sometimes find the hardest thing around working with kids is perhaps the parental influence. Sometimes the parents are trying to help make me, the dog trainer, be also the child trainer as well. And that can make things a little bit more difficult. So it's ultimately about their parents creating a great relationship with their kids, as well as both of them creating a great relationship with their dogs.
So sorry, the last chat was a bit out of sync from Karen, but as you can see, so many pros and not that many cons on working with kids and dogs. So that's quite lovely to see. Let's see if I can move the page. Then, before we start this, then so I was mentioning before on effectively what it's like to work with children. What can we do to make sure that this relationship can grow, and the needs and the wants and so on. I find that if I go to a family and I ask, oh, what would you like your dog to do for your children, or what would you like your dog to be like, or what would you what kind of family lifestyle, if you like, do you have and stuff. You can actually ask too much of a direct questions to people, and they might not know how to answer that. So you can go a bit on the side and try and investigate what kind of children they have. And the best way I find is to ask kids, fine, what do you like about dogs? So what do you think your dog like about you? So the first part is then, what do you like about dogs? And so we asked some children.
Do you like dogs?
I love dogs.
What do you like about them?
I'm not sure actually. I mean, it's a really hard question. I mean, I really love dogs. I think it's just like they're really fun to play with, and they just keep you company. I like that they're very friendly, especially Winnie, and I really like that they're cute and they're just a good companion. If you're sad, then they'll help you. I like that they're very playful. They're really like fun to play with.
I like that they're really understanding, they always understand, and you can tell them anything and they'll understand. They're a really great friend and they're the best companion in the world and they'll be your companion for life. The best thing I like about dogs is that some old dogs are really like calm and kind to you, and some little puppies like running around and playing with you and make me feel happy. I like that they're really they're really fluffy. Well, some of them are, and they're really friendly, and they're just really nice and happy. Is that loving? I like about dogs is I like the kisses, the greets, and they're like one of my friends.
It's so cute. So by knowing what kids think about dogs, or what they like about them, we can interpret what kind of need the child might have, and then we can work around it. The other good thing is then finding out what the children think dogs like about them. So again, we ask some little humans about it.
Snuggling me.
Snuggling you.
I play with a ball a lot. I play a ball a lot with her. I play tug of war, so I think she that I like the cuddles and the massages we do with her and the treats that we give her.
I like to play with the dogs, and I like to stroke them, and I'm nice to animals and people.
Stay still. I think what my friends say, I'm quite fun to play with. I think that they might like me because I give them lots of stroke and I like to walk with them. I think they might like me because I give some respect and I treat them how I want to be treated as a dog, and I will always be their companion for life. I think that's hard. That I'm very caring and good. Like I like looking after them, and I like kind of having the responsibility of looking after them.
So again, super cuteness there. And what we see, what we see in this, in these videos is we found how kids really see the playful part, but at the same time there is a lot of love with the cuddles and taking care of them. And we can really work around it. We can really go, right, okay, let's have play in there. Obviously, safe play, brilliant. Let's have some love and some cuddles. We all love to cuddle our dogs. Again, safely, let's teach them where they can cuddle, when they can cuddle. By learning some body language, the children can also say, all right, not now, then, and things like this. So we can really help the family dog to be a happy family dog, and the children as well to have effectively what they want from the dog. So another thing I'm super passionate about, and I know that all of the CADA professionals are too, is doing some training with the dogs. I absolutely love when children are involved in training. I absolutely encourage it when I go to see clients. I'm like, right, kids, come in, let's have some training there. Some things will be easier than others, undoubtedly. Some things will have to be taught to the parents before we see the children or before we get the kids involved. But ultimately, the kids can be completely involved in training the dogs. So here are some little videos from some little dog trainers, young dog trainers out there.
Good. Good girl. Leave. Leave. Look at it. Take a sip.
Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Sit. Let's see. Lay down.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you see that it's so beautiful to see the little humans interacting so well with the dogs, and positive training, lots of rewarding, lots of praises, and it's just beautiful. And then that way as well, the dog doesn't see the kids only as their playmates, which, although super fun, can also be a little bit too much at times. So we need to find as well a good balance between the play and the training and the resting. And it can be tricky. It can be tricky at times. So it's lovely to see so many children training their dogs. But you find as well that all kids would want to be in it with the training. So definitely get them involved is so important. So joining Kids Around Dogs will give you all this and more. So every month we have a webinar that you'll be taking part of. You're welcome to attend as part of your membership. So there is never like extra cost. We have some special guest experts in their field, for example, Sarah Fisher, Michael Shikashio, and many more. You will be learning to use the protocol to overcome the fear of dogs. You'll be learning directly from me. There is also an online e-course that is the Family Life with Dogs that will take you from pregnancy or adoption into teenagehood for humans. When a dog is already in the family, or when a dog is adopted in the family with children. So both scenarios there. You also be listed in the Kids Around Dogs website. When people want to look out for a Kids Around Dog professional, they would find your name in there. You'd have access to a private Facebook group for Cat Approved Professional only. You would have script presentations to use in schools, scouts, children's center, and other activities to help children to know about dogs, whether it's their body language or other important information. You would find them in there. Any kind of promotion of the Cat Approved professionals will be done only for the Cat Approved professionals, so we don't promote other professionals as such, and that will be everywhere in the world. Also, in the new year, we will have a new course launching for school dogs, and any information on schools and for schools. What would you need to know if you're a school teacher? What would you need to know if you are a dog professional that might want to go and have talks in school, or that is training a school dogs? So all this information will be coming in a new course in 2022. There is also a very cool library, the CAD library, which gives you access to books that will be specifically for what we do, children and dogs. And the books you would have access to for your own private knowledge to then recommend to your client or other professionals to purchase. There is always more. There might be some chat from me or some webinars that I offer, and other sorts of opportunities and some competitions. In fact, the lovely Kate Bond won a ticket to be a Geek Week this year as part of the CAD fund. Being part of CAD is fun, so you would get some little competitions here and there. So if you'd like to join, please go on www.kidsarounddogs.co.uk. There is a session, a little part on the menu called How to Apply, and in there you'll find all the information that you need. You can also email me directly at kidsarounddogs@gmail.com and ask for information there. Remember, we accept all professionals from the dog world and from the children care or children educational world. And wherever you are on this planet or outside of it, we would be happy to accept your application. There is a little assessment to do to make sure that our standards are met, but it's nothing to worry about, nothing to be scared of. Hopefully I think I have a friendly face, hopefully I do, and you won't feel intimidated by any of this. Yeah, if you want some more information or if you would like to send someone our way, please feel free to get in touch on kidsarounddogs.co.uk. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.